Hello, welcome. It is me, Danyell Carmelita, your favorite tarot reader and astrologer. So I want to break down Kim Kardashian's chart. This is going to be really interesting. I wanted to read her chart because Northwest has gotten pretty, I don't know, popular, but she just came across my feed, and then I got curious to know how Kim Kardashian was as a mom. Also doing Venus in Libra research, Kim Kardashian kept coming up, even though she's a Libra sun, but I was just looking up Libra aesthetics. I said, let me do a full reading since I'm already here. If you're here and you're nosy, there's some conspiracy theories that I wanted to address with Kim Kardashian as well. So if you're here and you want to know the tea, let's continue.
Oh, Danyell, Carmelita, oh, can't you see? The stars align, just come to me. Tarot and cosmos, your fate's inside. Danyell, Carmelita, shining bright.
So first of all, she is a Sagittarius rising. I'm also a Sagittarius rising, so shout out to all the Sagittarius risings. Basically, Sagittarius risings, sometimes they have a larger than life presence. You would say that, not all of them, but you can say that. There's some aspects depending on that ascendant, but they come off very confident. There's abundance. With Kim, you see themes of higher learning and being a lawyer. Some people may say that's not higher learning, the process that she's doing it, and I'll explain that a little bit more. But attorney and law you get with Sagittarius too, and anything that's higher learning above basic grade level. Also too, very public, a lot of publishing, World Wide Web, entrepreneurial energy, very adventurous, and doesn't have to be physically adventurous, could be career adventurous, but global influence, huge. And that Sagittarius rising, you can see that. Now, that first house has Mars and Neptune in that first house, and that first house represents her identity. It represents everyone's identity, your first house. I know a few people have Mars in the first house, and they never fail to not be selfish. Mars represents ambition. Mars represents the energy of me, and it's very me first energy. It comes across as self-centered, what do I want kind of energy, unafraid to go after what they want. They're very fearless. They tend to move fast, appear self-focused because that first house is the emphasis of self. Active engagement energy, a lot of movement, a lot of hard work. You think that, but she does have hard work placements, but not everyone in Mars in her first house is a hard worker, but there is a lot of energy. Could be very competitive. Direct way of expressing oneself, physical energy, overly sharp and pointed approach when it comes to relationships because it's opposing that. Now Neptune is also in her first house, and Neptune starts to make things very secretive. There's illusions here. Also major themes of photo and film. When you have Neptune in that first house, you could be very creative. Also too, always changing yourself or blending into others. Could be very intuitive, but that film and photography is huge with her. Also too, Neptune represents glamour because it gives an illusion of something. Could be compassionate as well, like a charity of some sort. Open to the universe. Neptune in the first house could represent a lot of addictions and escapism. I don't find that for her, but I'll just throw that out there. And also very vulnerable. Yourself is vulnerable and open. There's no boundaries when it comes to yourself, when it comes to others. A lot of people could be projecting from her. Maybe you could be misunderstood if you have Neptune in the first house, but very inspiring. A lot of misunderstandings, a speculation. So that Neptune in the first house, we'll just say we're going to count as conspiracy. Anything that deals with conspiracy and secrets, Neptune in the first house. Now I have Neptune in my first house, and also am a Sagittarius rising. And I'm not in a cult or anything. So there is that. You can have Neptune in the first house and be perfectly fine. But it gives an illusion of who you truly are. I'll just explain for myself personally. Neptune in the first house, I change the way I look all the time. If I'm in a certain environment, that can affect my look, the way that I come across to others. For example, if I was to live in an environment and everyone's overweight, I'll start to blend into that environment. So my environment is very important to me. That could maybe Kim giving an illusion of what she is. Also maybe being secretive about her body. For example, Did she have plastic surgery? Did she not? Is this fake? Is this real? What is real and what is fake? Now, her chart ruler is Jupiter because she's a Sagittarius rising, and Jupiter's in the sign Virgo, is in her 10th house. Makes perfect sense with Kim Kardashian. A lot of people who are famous, they are successful. They have Jupiter in her 10th house. Not only does she have Jupiter in her 10th house, but she has Virgo. Virgo is the zodiac sign that represents work, and really focus on that. Jupiter also expands whatever it touches through service, attention to tail. Also, this could give a little plastic surgery. That's her public image. That's what that 10th house represents, public image. Jupiter, expanding things that are not perfect and wanting to be perfect, is that Virgo energy. A lot of hardworking, excellent mentor, very analytical, very dedicated to mastering your craft. Find success with consistency. Someone who is going to be consistent with posting or consistent with work. Could be overthinking, could be a perfectionist, could be overcritical of herself and others. Difficulty seeing a big picture with a lot of things, working too hard or becoming a workaholic. I would think that she's a huge workaholic. The 10th house represents you becoming a CEO, and you have Jupiter, the planet of expansion and good luck. So her being a CEO of anything will achieve, you're going to achieve that. This is an angular house. Her having Jupiter in an angular house, meaning there's achievement here. This is a doing house. This is a house of action, and action with career, public image, her reputation, her success, leadership, and legacy. So all that is very abundant and big. A lot of people who have Jupiter, especially when they have positive aspects in the 10th house, is living in abundance. Success through anything like respect, public recognition, all that. It's conjunct her MC. So not only is Jupiter in that 10th house, but it's sitting next to her MC, which represents everything in a name. Your public standing, your reputation, you being on top, very big on promotion, recognition, opportunities, just very ambitious, huge self-promotion, pursuing large things, having opportunities, highly visible in their profession, gains recognition internationally too, because Jupiter could represent the world, the internet, the wide world web. Jupiter being the chart ruler, the major themes, wherever your chart ruler is, the major themes of that chart ruler is going to be huge throughout your life. So major themes of her career and being successful in her public image. Her image is going to be a major theme throughout her life. But not only that, it's conjunct the IC. It's in the sign Virgo. So success comes through service. Success comes through repetition and routine. That's why she's also huge into working out. And I think she even sells workout clothes. Now let's move over to her sun. Her sun is in Libra. These are things we already know about her. I'm going to tell you some things we may not know about her. But her sun's in Libra, and this is where you get the work ethic. We had it with her career in the 10th house, but now the 11th house is you're the CEO in the 10th house, and the 11th house builds the CEO energy. So this is when you have networks and connections and some partnerships, or this is where you have clubs, maybe societies even. But this is the 11th house is going to reward that 10th house energy, and she has abundance in there. And now she has Sun and Pluto in this 11th house, and the Sun represents your identity and life purpose. Is in the sign Libra, so you're talking about beauty, aesthetics, branding, being diplomatic, that lawyer energy, partnerships, a lot of themes of relationships, public image, and luxury. Pluto is in Libra too, so it's going to reinvent that. Pluto and her sun are sitting very close together. So it's magnetic, there's power, there's influence, there's transformation, or maybe someone is controlling in a relationship. Now, the sun is combusting Pluto, meaning that the sun could be shining a bright light on Pluto. Now, that means anytime the sexual or the secret energy may not be working the best. But this is where you get the reality TV show network. Literally E! Network I think is big with her, and Hulu Network is big with her. This is where you get the fashion, the beauty, the shapewear, her dealing with law. All that is because this Jupiter is sitting there. Venus is also in her 10th house too. I didn't even say that. Venus is all about the aesthetics too. She has strong placements in everything that she's doing. But let me see what else we have. Massive audience, social influence. When you have, I didn't explain that, when you have Pluto sitting next to the sun too, it's almost giving Scorpio energy. So anything you think of a Scorpio, very mysterious, very secretive. And it doesn't seem like she's secretive, right? She seems very open, but I do think there's a lot of secrets that she has. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but this is added to the secretive. Now remember, I said Neptune's in the first house, so we're going to ding that as 1. This is ding number 2, Pluto sitting next to her sun, because it's giving her Scorpio energy in the sign Libra. Libra represents any kind of networks, partnerships of some sort, relationships. There's something secretive there, so we'll just leave that known. But on the other side, because she has these 2 placements, the sun and Pluto. This is a huge with social media, huge with setting some trends when it comes to fashion, huge with any type of friend group or networking or being popular or an audience or following, popularity, superficial friends, connections. It's the ego also too, having interplay with the shadow side when you have that Sun and Pluto together. And that's basically like the light and the dark playing together. That would be like how she has that film that came out and then how she made that be successful in some way. She plays with the dark side. You see that with a lot of things like being a spokesperson for Balenciaga, which we know Balenciaga did some things, but then it's like going with her drive and her purpose of some sort. Ruthless and driving nature, urge to dominate and control. She wants to be successful. This is also someone who's flaunting their sexuality because the Sun is highlighting those things that are very taboo. Obsessive with herself, a lot of self-celebration, intense endings and beginnings with her social networks or social circles, maybe even in relationships as well, because Libra represents a transformation in relationships, attraction, influential of powerful friends, attracting a lot of powerful friends as well. We've seen that when Kris Jenner, I feel like she was at so many weddings or parties and you see who's her peers, right? Can build a large devoted audience, deeply transformative friendships, natural leader within any type of group or network as well. Powerful public influence. Now Saturn is also in that house and Saturn is exalted in Libra. So basically she has 3 planets in Libra. All of these things represent aesthetics, glamour, not glamour, but just really aesthetics and fashion and partnerships and law. So now she has Saturn here. Saturn is going to teach you the lessons and bring the karma. I want to also say that Saturn sitting in a sign Libra is where there is some delay with her or some consequences when it comes to her being a lawyer, because nothing comes overnight and that Saturn energy is going to make her have some setbacks, and every setback becomes a brick in building that empire she wants to build, especially when it comes to law, especially when it comes to having a long-term relationship, especially if it's something that's dealing with her network. If she's getting a relationship within a network, there's going to be some setbacks there too. I don't know if she knows that. That's just something that I see. But the 11th house also represents your hopes and dreams. So anything she's hoping and dreaming, Saturn is going to be there to be like, you learning, the beginning steps of learning is going to set you back in a big way, especially because it's sitting at 3 degrees. That's a Gemini degree. That's basically the basics of learning anything. I would suggest that she needs to go to officially go to law school. But if she didn't go to law school, I'm not saying she won't succeed. It's just that it's going to be a very long process for her. Also, I want to say that Saturn represents government. I'm just going to throw that out there. Saturn, government and relationship with the government in that 11th house as well. Did that have any? Is sextile Mars, meaning that it goes with her drive, anything that's dealing with the government and any relationship with the government. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know if she has any relationship with the government. I'm just saying it could represent that. Back to Venus in Virgo, this also represents relationships. Also too, this could represent having clean beauty or wellness. I think this is where you get that shape, wear, and making your body look perfect. But anything dealing with her female friendships, she wants someone who is a hard worker for her friends. So it's all about work when it comes to her partnerships, when it comes to her friends, and even maybe if you're not a hard worker, you got to be a lawyer of some sort. So, also I want to say that the 11th house again represents a society, a group. Just want to throw that out there. Now let's talk about her moon. Also too, I want to say that the Sun represents her father, and the Sun sitting next to Pluto represents death or a transformation. And it's in a sign Libra, which also represents law. So that explains her father. Now let's talk about her mom. And we can also talk about Kim being a mom, or how Kim is behind closed doors. She's a moon in Pisces. That makes her very sensitive. This is probably why we see her cry a lot. Moon in Pisces people are usually compassionate. They're very intuitive. There's a lot of imagination. There's a lot of being receptive emotionally and having empathy. This also is photography too. So this is something else that deals with photography. She has the Neptune in the first house, which is film and photography. And she also has that moon in Pisces, which also represents film and photography. The moon also represents alone. It represents your motherhood, your emotions, your nurturing, your home. It also deals with the past, and the moon is sitting next to the IC, which also deals with the past. This is also in the 4th house, which also deals with her past. So there's a lot of conspiracy theories going on about her name, the Kardashian name.
Whoever you think the Kardashians are, I promise you, they're 10 times worse. For the last couple of weeks, I have been deep diving and doing some major research into the Kardashian family. Not just the crimes and scandals of Kim, Khloe, Kris, and all the rest, but the actual roots of the Kardashian family. And in doing that, I've found a very clear and specific pattern in the Kardashian family. One of monopolization, one of scamming, one of lies, one of extremist Christian beliefs, and more importantly, white supremacy and Zionism. The Kardashians have a long and storied history with manipulating this country and the people in it, going all the way back to her great-grandfather and great-uncle who allegedly were running monopolies in California. This rabbit hole is deeper than you could possibly imagine. And it leads directly not only to the Kardashian California Community Church, but to issues of genocide and American politics today. So brace yourselves, because we're about to take a look at a family with more ties to the KKK than the KKK has itself.
That they had historically with their name. With this placement, with the moon sitting next to her IC in the 4th house, is 28 degrees is also a Cancer degree. It's very strong. There's a lot of things in her history and her lineage that I can see. It's quincunx, her son, meaning that there's uncomfortable energy with power and control and the ego. And there's something that's highlighting this also too, and that could be quite uncomfortable. It's also opposing Jupiter, opposing this optimism, opposing this abundance of things. It's almost like there's some type of suppression with work and religion and secrets as well. So I just want you to understand that these things that are being discussed about her past, people need to have awareness of it, because there is a lot of truth to that, even without astrology. But looking at the chart, it just perpetuates exactly what's going on historically with the name Kardashian. Anyway, but back to Kim alone. Kim alone could be very protective, could be very emotionally sensitive, also needs a lot of peace at home, could be very insecure at home, secure behind closed doors. Also too, family is everything for her. Private life is very serious, and also being private about her history and family, having a strong connection to her home and ancestry, needs to feel safe, have a safe environment. Again, this is filming at home, because the Pisces energy represents that reality show, which is more of an illusion. She can also absorb the energy around her. This also represents her being a mom, right? How she is as a mom and how Kris Jenner was a mom to her. This also represents that. And I want to say that this moon, the placement of this moon, the moon phase is a gibbous, a waxing gibbous, meaning that it's almost close to a full moon, almost, but it is giving more of the energy of action. Waxing is growing and developing and focused on the future. So not only is she hardworking with that Jupiter and Venus, both of those are very positive planets to have in the 10th house, but then also her moon is very active and into building, and that also represents her mom, who is very active into building. Also too, overdoing it, overly optimistic is what you have with this opposition to Jupiter, overdoing it with the public. You have that with her as a mom. You have that also with Kris Jenner as a mom, and it's going against that sun, which is someone who is constantly adapting, a lot of sexual energy, a lot of themes with relationships, like pushing a relationship for work or making her feel uncomfortable with the relationship. A lot of uncomfortable energy here with what she truly, her drive versus what her mom wanted to do. And this also could be very uncomfortable with the father figure. What's his name? Jenner. As well, because that was a father figure in her life, family life, and demands. And it's a lot of issues with what she really wants versus what her mom really wants as well. That could be a big thing. Part of me wants this, but another part wants something else completely. A lot of uncomfortable energy when it comes to her home life and being a professional. Let me see. A lot of issues with her career versus her mom versus what she really wants to do. I wonder if they argue a lot behind closed doors. A mom who strongly influences her career choices, different values between mother and her personal ambitions, feeling emotionally supported but professionally misunderstood, learning to define success independently from what her mom expects her to do or what her family expects her to do. She could be emotionally exhausted for trying to satisfy everyone, especially with that Libra. That Libra wants to satisfy everyone. Idealizing family while overextending herself professionally. Difficulty separating emotions from career. decisions, public success requiring sacrifices at home. That Pisces wants to sacrifice things, but the Virgo wants to work. This is an alignment. This Virgo and Pisces placements are also dealing with energies that are self-sacrificing and sacrificing a lot for others and for work, for as a mom as well. And that goes for her mom and her, wanting to give children every opportunity to grow and succeed, but still wanting to work. That is what you get. Balancing nurturing and home with career, or balancing giving service or that public image versus being private at home as well. The moon also squares Neptune. So this is number 3. So Neptune's in the first house, 1. What is number 3? This is number 4. I'm just going to name it. Neptune in the first house is very secretive, right? Sun sitting next to Pluto is very secretive, but it adds a mystery that's more taboo. Having a moon in Pisces is someone who's very secretive, behind closed doors. Now the moon squares Neptune. This is someone who's overly secretive. There could be some emotional confusion, codependent, helping people in an unhealthy way, having difficulty saying no, maybe even saying no to her children, difficulty separating emotions from expectations, seeing family relationships through a rose-colored lens, not really seeing how she is as a mom, not really seeing how her mom really is, not really seeing how she is at home as well, or no boundaries at home. 2, emotional confusion, mixed signals within the family, learning to distinguish intuition from wishful thinking. Poor boundaries as a mom. Also, too, this is a highly sexual energy with that Neptune. The Pluto is very sexual. The Pisces is very sexual. Could also represent addiction, but I don't see that. But also behind the scenes, a lot of things dealing with film, sexual, secrets, illusions. If we talk about Northwest as a child, we look at the 5th house, and I know Northwest is underage, so we're going to be very gentle when discussing this. But if you want to look at your firstborn, you look at the 5th house. If you want to look at your secondborn, you look at the 7th house, and then the 9th house. So we're just going to look at Northwest because Northwest is recently going to, I think, go to, have a concert. I'm not going to look at Northwest chart. I'm just going to look at Kim Kardashian's chart. But Northwest, according to Kim's chart, we look at the ruling of the 5th house is Mars, and Mars is sitting in that first house. Again, that first house represents being selfish, so Mars could be a little selfish, but very bold, very courageous, very independent, very adventurous, very honest and straightforward, very competitive. Mars also represents that piercings and having a lot of it because it's in the sign Sagittarius. But this is someone who Northwest might travel a lot. Also to publication, wide world energy. Higher education could be a possibility with her. Even law could be a possibility. But very strong opinions, very honest. Leadership is what you get with this. Freedom, taking risks, being assertive, being very courageous. But this is a very self-motivated, standing out from, especially in an early age, being comfortable, being first and being a leader is what you get with that. And then also to that Mars is 6th house Saturn. So this is her and the father figure. That can work really well for her. Her thinking of anything this long term, her being persistent, her understanding her purpose, her, what else with Saturn? Her being okay with restrictions in the government as well. The ability to work hard and think of goals as well. That's what we'll leave it at that for her, but she may be a little too blunt and it may be a little impatient, but that 6th house Saturn will help her out. Anyway, so that's what we have for, I know she had a tour canceled, but with that Mars 6th house Saturn, I think she's going to have a long standing, and she's a fighter. That one right there, and very brave and fearless with that Mars, especially in Sagittarius. So that's what we have for Northwest. Now, and I talked about Kris Jenner, overworked, the same with Kim. They're the same far as the moms. Now, let's talk about Mercury in Scorpio. Now, I said 1, 2, 3. We had 3 and then 4. So now this is the 5th thing, and that is giving secrets, conspiracies. And I was not looking for this. I was actually looking for something else, but here we go. Mercury is in Scorpio and it's in the 12th house. It's sitting next to Uranus. Mercury in Scorpio is someone who is a great investigator, which she said she was. Very strategic thinking, a lot of research. They could be strong with psychology. Also, I wanted to say that Venus in Virgo, that Jupiter in Virgo is why she wants to stay forever young, because she wants to always look perfect. But back to this, I think that Kim Kardashian really doesn't really reveal what she's thinking. This is someone who likes to observe. This is someone who likes to plan and then act. Now, Uranus is sitting next to that. So that makes it very different. That actually makes it very fast. Even though Scorpio is a fixed sign, so it doesn't move fast, but Uranus makes it highly intelligent. It makes it very fast, especially when it comes to secrets. Uranus also represents the clubs and the networks as well, and having that secret club and network. So the number gets higher, 5, 6, I don't know where we're at, but it could be reinventing things, breaking taboos. Also too, Mercury deals with trade and money and commerce, but being different when it comes to commerce. And you have that when it comes to the skims. Also selling things that are very sexual works well with her, especially in that 12th house. Hidden processes, a lot of private life, a lot of things behind the scenes. This also represents being different when it comes to reality shows or films or secretive and deception, mental independence, selective disclosure. Could be randomly secretive. She could disappear without us even knowing. Keeping major life changes quiet, thinking before she speaks, needs mental privacy, unpredictable communication. But this is very interesting because just randomly I just thought of secret society from looking at this and going into that 12th house. And I do, from looking at this, see that she could either be a part of some Freemasonry or she could be a part of some mystery that is a tradition of some type of secret society, maybe even anything that's dealing with government and its intelligence and it's classified because you have that Saturn sitting there. Or maybe someone who does research secretly. And I know we're talking about Kim Kardashian, but she could be like someone who her job is for research. Also to private spiritual energy as well. I just see all that because you have the 12th house Scorpio placements. You have Mercury conjunct Uranus in that 12th house, which is very unconventional, but it also represents a group and having a lot of conversations and emails privately with a certain group. Unconventional specialized knowledge. Uranus is representing that research. Pluto ruling the 12th, Mars ruling the 12th house as well. So Mars is the traditional ruler of 12th house, is sextile Saturn, which represents that research and government. And Pluto is the modern ruler of it, and it's sitting next to the sun, which represents a lot of power. I just see in the Neptune in that first house and sitting next to her ascendant and a moon in Pisces, all that I just see some strong secret organization, and I wasn't even looking for that. So there we have that. Now I want to talk about her relationships. We look at the 7th house, we look at the relationship. What is the ruler of the relationship? That is Mercury. Mercury is sitting next to, Mercury is the ruler of it, is sitting in the 12th house. First of all, you have Gemini in your 7th house. You like someone who's intelligent, who's funny, who likes to communicate, who's curious, who's adaptable, maybe fast and busy. And Kanye West was the Gemini sun, from what I remember. And then the ruler of her 7th house is Mercury, and Mercury is sitting over there conjunct Uranus. This is crazy, cuckoo, intelligent, unconventional partners. She decides to be a lesbian. Wouldn't shock me. Okay, that can suddenly change. Private or hidden relationships, difficulty predicting where the relationship is headed, feeling that there's always something more the surface. Very secretive too with her relationship. This does represent cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs being that as a theme of relationships, but highly intelligent. Whoever she's going to partner up with, very unpredictable, unexpected twists and changes, and someone who wants their freedom for sure. Talk about some things that we see currently with Kim. So that's her natal chart as a whole. Now I'm going to go into some predictions. Doing this, I realized I need to do the year because I'm putting up old videos up from my private community. I want to make it all free, and you can look it up at my Substack if you really love astrology, you want to know more. I do a lot of other readings, but I have to put them in like a different paywall. Some of them get a little shady. Okay. Oh, also too, if she was part of the E-Files, not a shock here. I didn't say that as a list of shady groups here. So let's talk about her perfection year. She is currently 45 years old. So that means that this is the 10th house for ruling her perfection year, and the 10th house is all about career and working and being serious about that. The ruler of her perfection year, that 10th house, is Mercury. So doing something different, career, her reputation, her purpose, her achievement, her public visibility is the primary focus while she's 45. And Jupiter in there is going to expand. Venus is in there. It's more about aesthetics and just refining it and working. And Mercury is the ruler of it, and it's sitting in that 12th house. So it could be some research behind the scenes or doing something really different and out of the box. Okay, that's what we have. It could be dealing with technology, AI, original thinking, And that's what we have for her at the age of 45. Also, too, Mercury is the ruler of a relationship, so she could be doing more dating, of course, but it could be more secretive. Now, 46 into our 11th house, and that's where we have that Sun and Pluto sitting there. I think when the conspiracy theories of stuff that's secretive gets a little bit more, our sexual things could be happening when she's 46, and she could be putting that more on the internet. So be aware of that. But this is dealing with friendships, organizations, network. Could be a secret network. Long-term dreams, becoming more focused of that year when she turns 46. Some very transformative, something very intense, something very taboo. Be obsessed with having some more power. And this could be in a relationship. This could be dealing with her being a lawyer, collaborating. Could be happening within that year too. Venus is the ruler of that year. And again, that's in that 10th house of work. So major work and supporting women, or maybe working with women, or collaborating with women, or growing a business through a friendship, or having a business partner as well. Venus is trine Chiron and Taurus, so there's some healing that could be happening there, or she could be playing a victim. And people really give her support with that. That's what we have. Now, she does have a north node in Leo and a south node in Aquarius. So some eclipses are coming her way. There's things that she has to release and let go, especially when it comes to the internet and her communicating. So let's see how that plays out. The eclipse is coming up, and I have videos on that separately. But with her, there is something that could be that she's releasing. You're also talking about death, or something that's gaining new in her life, or something that starts something new. I do know her grandmother passed, so there could be something dealing with that, or maybe siblings, releasing siblings, or gaining something new with siblings, because that house represents that too. The ninth house represents the world, expanding, publishing, or something like that. But there's a lot of changes in those themes for her. Neptune in Aries is opposing her Saturn in Libra. So this is something that is a lot of dissolving. This also represents Northwest, like losing something. A lot of things with the 5th house is children, being lost in the sauce when it comes to relationships, being lost in the sauce when it comes to children. Saturn is there. It already went past though, and it's come up to her Sun and Pluto. So a lot of lessons and restrictions and delays with her getting some power. But what's sitting there, she's lost in the sauce when it comes to having fun, when it comes to relationships, romantic relationships, when it comes to her children. Well, okay. Dissolving old structures to build more authentic ones. I put lost child, also being very sensitive, again, lacking boundaries, not knowing to say no. But Saturn is sitting there. So maybe the boundaries are like off and on. We'll see how that plays out. Some cards for Kim. What do we have for Kim just this year? We have the Sun. A lot of power, a lot of expansion. It's very positive for her. Success. The Sun shows a light. So while she's being successful, there's a flashlight showing here. We got Libra energy. We got the card of justice. So maybe lawyer energy will be coming out more for her. But there's cause and effect. The truth will be revealed. Major legal and consequences. And then lastly, we have the Moon in reverse. Being a mom for sure. Secrets may be revealed. Truth, dreams, understanding, clarity. There's a lot of releasing, a lot of fear, especially when it comes to her child. Let's see what happens with her being a mom. Only wish the best of luck for her. I'm going to pull an oracle card because the last one was sad. Because it makes me think of her and its well-being. Hopefully she can focus on her well-being this year. And I'm going to leave it to that this year. We won't move on. But that is what we have for Kim Kardashian. Let me know if there's someone else you want me to read. This may be part 1 on Kim Kardashian. I am watching her when it comes to her history, her lineage on her father's side. I don't know. Maybe her mom's side too needs to be looked at. So that's a little shady. It looks a little shady with any type of network and group she's involved with too. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed. I was going to say, let me know if there's anyone else you want me to break down her chart. I have broken down Kanye's chart. That's in a paywall. You got to go to my Substack. It's completely free. You can check that out. I broke out other people's chart. That's a little shady. We shouldn't be breaking down here on the White World Web, but I secretly do it. NASA. Yeah, I just released Robert Kennedy's reading. It was very old, but I did it anyway. But go check out those. I will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye bye.